Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. JC here with another video on Action Taimanin. Today we're gonna check another video on a mod that I would like to see in the game in the future. But before we start, don't forget to leave a like, share and subscribe if you enjoy the content. So today we're gonna ask the question, how would a Labyrinth mode look like in AT? So I think this would be a great idea, and unlike my previous video where I talk about customizable challenging content, this is gonna be a little bit more extensive because a Labyrinth mode requires more mechanics to be placed so that it's interesting. So let's get started. I have played different Labyrinth modes, but my favorite ones are definitely integrated strategies from Arknight, and also the Labyrinth mode on Disgaea. Not Disgaea, Dissidia, Final Fantasy Dissidia. Yeah, that I liked a lot. But in any case, these are some of my reference, and you might see some aspects that are similar to these, especially Arknights, because that's the one that I have played the most. So let's see how this would look. So number one, Grimoire already has an HP system in place that they could easily implement on the Labyrinth mode, so that it becomes a kind of, I don't want to say battle of attrition, but something like that. Because you have to take care of yourself while you advance. They could also implement a life system, but I really think that the HP for your characters would be way better. But now that I think about it, they could easily implement both of them. Let's say that you go to a solo stage and your character dies and it now has 0 HP. And you lose one of your life and you have 3 lives. That could be a thing, and then you can use a different character and try to beat the stage. Yeah, that could work actually. Or they could just decide to go for one of the system. They can implement the 2 at the same time. It really depends. And also they would need to think if they want to block healing or not. Honestly, I think that it's okay not to block healing, because similar to BR, healing attacks are essential on a mode where we have a set amount of HP for the run. Well, in any case, let's check the next one. Character limitations. Well, limitations in general. When we do a Labyrinth run, we want each run to be different. We want to just not demolish everything with our overpowered characters. So limitations should be set in place so that we have to strengthen the characters while we progress on the Labyrinth. That would be amazing. So my recommendation for Grimoire, if they decide to implement this, is to make sets of assist type characters, suppress type characters, and protect type characters. Why by color and not by trait? Well, because let's say that there are demerits for demon characters or human characters or machine type characters, then you're screwed if you selected all of the characters that are demon, human, or machine. So it's better to select by color, so that you select machine, human, and demon. That would balance things out. Also, I think that it's important to lock the initial level at 75. I mean, we can later upgrade the characters so that they are at our current max level, but locking them at the beginning is fundamental so that they are not too strong, because again, we can just select our strongest character, and if they are too strong at the beginning, they're just gonna demolish everything too fast, and it wouldn't be a challenge. Another thing that we could do is limit our gear. We can limit the amount of supporters we have. In fact, we could select the supporters we want to take. Let's say that at the beginning, we can select 1 UR for each color, 1 blue, 1 green, 1 red, and then we can select 3 SRs from any color, whichever you like, and 5 are from any color. Honestly, like the arcs, we could take them all. It wouldn't be that impactful, but it is important to have variety. So yeah, and I think that as we progress, we can unlock more and more supporters and such, so that we strengthen the character. But as I mentioned, the limitation is what's going to make the start challenging. And then we could also add limitations to the weapons. We could limit the amount of URs that we have and only grab one UR for any of the selected characters, two SRs, and two Rs for the selected characters. Like, honestly, I mean, Gremory has to think how they want to balance this. Obviously, we are forced to select at least one weapon for each character, because if not, they wouldn't be able to be played, because you have to have a weapon for sure. So yeah, or maybe they could give by default all the characters are weapons, and we just pick one UR for any of the three characters that we select, and two SRs for the other two. So yeah, that could be a thing. And also, definitely, one important thing that should be addressed is locking away the awakening system, the awakening skills. Why? Because they are too busted. I mean, as we progress through the labyrinth, it's definitely possible and a good idea to be able to unlock specific aspects of the awakening skill. Let's say that I get enough currency to unlock machine specialist, and then human specialist, and then demon specialist, but I don't have enough for battle stand just yet, and arena offensive we're not gonna use here. Or well, if the bosses counts as enemies like in PvP, that would be fine, I guess. But the idea is that we gain currency so that we can unlock upgrades that we already have, and the upgrade is not going to be maxed out. It's going to be at the level that we have it. Then, well, I said at the level that we have it, but what if you don't have something? Let's say a weapon, a supporter, or a character. This mode could be an excellent way for players to test characters, weapons, and supporters they don't have. They can just rent them, and if it's detected that they don't have it on the account, the game would give you a max out copy of the weapon or character so that you can test it and know how it feels. And that way, players are going to want to get those supporters, those weapons, those characters. So it is a really good idea, because that way Grimoire is going to earn more money. It's going to convince players to get the gear, to buy the characters. I mean, obviously it's going to be fun to play, but at the same time they're doing this kind of advertising, and they are making players feel that they need this gear, which technically it's not necessary, but it certainly helps. So it is a good way to just motivate players to get stuff. While we have fun, which is the important thing. It's not just grabbing us and saying, hey, buy this. No. We are having fun because we're testing the things, we're feeling it, and we're getting rewards just by playing. That would be great. So, every labyrinth should have a map. And depending on how Grimoire organized, there can be two ways. Like, in Final Fantasy Dissidia, they have this really long labyrinth map, which is infinite and you can progress. And on Arknights, there are floors. You start at this point and you end at this point. I prefer the Arknights method because it allows you to implement other mechanics. And as you can see, I illustrated some of the nodes which would be available in the labyrinth. And the important thing about it is that we would have information to select which route we go. So, for example, they can lock certain nodes, and we would need a key to open that node to be able to battle there or participate in the event. There can also be shops for sure to use your Labyrinth currency. There's definitely going to be battles, and there can be extra difficult battles marked on red or with a different symbol. There can also be team battles because we already have team battle systems implemented into the game, so that's not out of the question, especially if we start our journey with 3 characters, which already have some amount of gear. We could have events which give you items, currency, or characters, anything. And then the level progression. Yeah, if they decide to go by with the level thing. If not, it would be infinite and you just have to progress and go as far as possible, trying to avoid the exits or going for the exits if you cannot battle anymore. So yeah. And something, as I mentioned, really important is the stage preview. The stage preview is going to be something that allows you to see what's going to happen in that specific event, in that specific stage. So you can see, for example, the merits. In this case, I just put on this stage range damage reduced by 30% and melee damage increased by 10%. I mean, they can add buffs if they want. It is not necessary, but they could, to incentivize a certain type of playstyle, for sure. Or they could just add debuffs. And if you want to know some debuff that they could implement or some buff they could implement, you can check my previous video on how would a customizable challenging content look like. Because there I talked thoroughly about the kind of effects that they can implement on a stage. Then they can, on the preview, we can also see the type of enemies that we're going to be fighting. That way we can put the corresponding supporters on our characters. Then we can also see the amount of enemies we need to defeat. Or we could also set a goal, because there's 3 ways to beat a stage. Defeat all enemies, defeat X amount of enemies, and defeat X amount of enemies while protecting a guest character. So they could show us the condition, the win condition, and also show us the amount of enemies that they're gonna be here. And of course, the red ones would be more difficult. Like this one only has 30% damage reduction, just cause, for anything and everything. Protect the civilian, because we know it's annoying. Demon and machine type characters, so that your specific supporters, your anti-demon or anti-machine, don't work on the other side of the spectrum. Defeat more enemies, of course, and also a boss. Why not a boss? So yeah, the idea is that we have fun on this one and we have a real challenge while managing resources, HP, and also trying to achieve certain goals. So after beating any stage, obviously we should receive a stage reward. And I mean by stage those notes where we could see the swords or stage event or the lock, because the map should be separate. It's not like one big stage and you take one route or the other. After you beat the stage, you go back to the map. So what rewards we could expect? Well, of course, to grab one specific UR or maybe 2 random URs. Grab one specific weapon, UR weapon, or 2 random UR weapons. Grab a character from the assist set, the suppress set, the protect set. Also, labyrinth items. We could grab specific labyrinth items. They could design items to get mini buffs. Not like big buffs, but mini buffs. Let's say like a 10% particle charge increase. Like a 5% melee damage increase. Like every 20 seconds, recover 5% of your maximum HP. Something like that. These items would be nice to see. And they can be random as rewards. We can also gain, of course, labyrinth currency, so that we're able to buy things and upgrade characters later. Also, any other kind of labyrinth upgrade they decide to put would be fine as a reward. So these are just suggestions, so that Gremory thinks about this, because I think it will be extremely fun and it will be extremely useful so that players can test supporters, weapons, and characters while playing something kind of roguelike. So, talking about upgrades, shops, and upgrades. Well, as you saw, I put a note that was a shop on the map, and on this we could unlock characters, we could unlock the maximum level. As I said, we should start at 75, but as we progress, we want to enhance our characters, so we could unlock the maximum level of the characters that we have, that we own. We could also unlock one of the awakening skills. Well, maybe multiple of, yeah, sure, but obviously each one cost Labyrinth currency, because we gain the Labyrinth currency per run. Also, we could buy keys, temporary buff, HP recovery items, depending if they go with that mechanic or not. Also, lives, again, depending if they go with that mechanic or not. On the event notes, they should definitely do like gaining currency, gaining labyrinth items, unlocking characters or gear, or maybe surprise battles against multiple enemies or bosses, or any other kind of random event, like maybe something about story. It could be a thing, or maybe a gambling event where you could get random items with a little bit of currency, but it is random. Maybe you get it, maybe you don't. So yeah, that could be a thing. And well, another thing they could add on the maps, if they decide to go for the level aspect, the floor aspect, they could give specific buffs or debuffs per floor. Let's say that on the first floor there is a particle charge increase of 50%. That would be nice. And then on the second floor there is, yeah, this particle charge, but they also add the merit, like enemies now poison when they attack you when you are groggy or stunned, for example. So yeah, that could be a thing. They could add different effects. And that would make the run, that would give a lot of variety to the run. Not every run will be the same. Then, talking about enemies and stages. Well, yes, definitely they don't need to add new stages and new enemies. They don't need to, but they can. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But let's focus on the ones that we already have. For enemies that we already have, they could just add specific buffs for the stage where they are going to appear that enhance them in some way. Let's say that if we know that this enemy is pretty slow and it has HP recovery, maybe they could add a defense buff for the stage where this enemy appear. If we know that Momochi makes his clones, then we could add a debuff, a slow debuff on hit for this enemy, so that it's more difficult. If we know that the machine enemy uses his Gatling gun and does a ton of multi-hits, maybe it can just break super armor just cause, or something like that. I don't know. They can decide, but the idea is that for the stage where that enemy is going to appear, they have a set of random effects that pair well with that specific enemy that's going to appear on that stage. Also, it is fine if the stage is small or big. It will be okay, because we can concentrate on beating a boss, we can concentrate on beating waves of enemies on a cramped space, or also fighting enemies that are ranged on a big space. Depends on what they want to do. Honestly, it is a mode where Gremory could take advantage of every single asset that they have placed into the game. So yeah. And something that I would love to see is secret enemies and stages. This would be an excellent way to tease things that are going to appear later in the game. That would be amazing. I mean, I know there's people who want white, and I know there's people who want wisp. So yeah, they could add new models as secret enemies that can be fought if you maybe do certain events, if you defeat a certain amount of bosses, if you fulfill certain conditions. That would be amazing. So yeah, that would be it, guys. What do you think about the Labyrinth Mode? Do you want a Labyrinth Mode? Do you not want a Labyrinth Mode? Do you think it would be too convoluted? Do you think it would be doable? Do you want it? Let me know in the comments. I really, really, really want a Labyrinth Mode because particularly it is an excellent way to rent or borrow characters that you don't have, supporters that you don't have, weapons that you don't have, and test them in real battle and say, well, this is pretty good. I actually want to get this. So, yeah, this one wouldn't this mode wouldn't focus too much in a specific strategy for something super niche. It's more general, but it would be really, really good for, let's say, showing newer players the ropes of the game. And of course, after clearing the labyrinth, however long it would be, you would receive rewards. I mean, they can do a limited amount of rewards per week or per day. I honestly recommend per week rather than day, because depending on how long this runs, it might be too much to do it daily. So yeah, I think the weekly approach would be way better. But anyways, that's about it, guys. I hope you find this entertaining. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye!